Well, good morning, everybody. Ooh, looking a bit early in the morning. It's August the 11th or something like that, mid-August, and I thought you might like a little tour of the garden to see what we've got, see what we're growing. As I always make my clips while I'm actually doing something that I'm doing, I am also cutting a wedding. So I've got 13 buckets to cut, mixed buckets for the bride to use, and I'm cutting her bouquet, the bridesmaids, the buttonholes as well. And so that should be a nice little cut for you to join along with. And at the end, we'll make the bride, the buttonholes and the bridesmaids, so you can see all of that. So welcome to Common Farm. Enjoy the fun. I'm Georgie, your host, and here's the garden. Let's go. So off I set with my trusty trolley and my snips. But on the way, I'm just watering my biennials, which I've put here in the shade of my crabapple trees because they really hate the harsh sunlight. And I know some of you in America would consider this, today we're 33 degrees Celsius, which I think is 90 Fahrenheit, which for us is boiling hot. Anyway, the seedlings really hate the heat. So I've put them in the shade here and they're very happy. They're pinging up all over the place and they're just doing their thing. So if you struggle with trying to get seed to germinate in the spring, in the heat of the summer, try popping it in the shade. You may find you do better. By the way, please do subscribe to the channel. Press the bell icon and then we'll tell you we've got more clips coming up. And if any of the tips and tricks we give you along the way are helpful, you can always buy me a coffee. The link is in the blurbs to all my clips. Right, having watered my seedlings, let's go and see what's in the pail. The pail? No, the piggery. Well, the perennial phlox have suffered in the heat, but the verbena bonariensis behind love it. And tucked inside there are some foxgloves, so I think I'll have those as a start. And now this bit is called the pitch by yard. There am I. Hello. This is where all our seed sown crops live, and I'm going to cut quite a lot from here. Particularly this lovely red, tall red person is called Atriplex rubra. So I have some of them. I have some roses on the left here. I always have a few roses near the studio so I can grab them for a demo if I need them. And they're just coming into their second flush. They've had a water and a feed and they're feeling fresh despite the heat. I will definitely have some of these lovely scabious. Sometimes I love the scabious, sometimes I don't. This year, yeah, I'll take it. And there's lots of lovely cosmos. It's weird about cosmos. I'm a fan and yet I'm not a fan. It's incredibly useful though, and other people like it. So you've got to grow for the customer, haven't you, as well as yourself. There are the straw flowers. These really are for Christmas, so they need harvesting as soon as possible. For Christmas, we have a little late crop of nigella coming along here. That'll be pretty in the mix. A little bit of blue, because my beloved and much favoured bog sage is, look, there's a bee buzzing away. My bog sage has been nipped by the sun, and so for the first time I've ever seen it, it's not happy. So luckily I've got this for a little bit of blue, and the bees are loving it too. Then for the wedding, we have this gorgeous crop of amaranthus. I'm a big fan of amaranthus. This variety is called Coral Fountain, and I got the seed from Chiltern Seeds. But I have more, as you can see. Look at this lovely dark red one. They're all Chiltern seeds, I think, my amaranthus, apart from the straightforward green and straightforward trad amaranthus with this lovely pink spike, which is just beginning to come. These are from Higgledy Garden, who is my friend and colleague, and with whom I have curated a collection of seeds to sow for next spring. If you want to have a look at his website. Then there's some lovely millet. I love the millet because it's like the tassels are really, I just love them. They're sort of silky and gorgeous. Moving down here, I've been looking after Mum a bit, so the garden has been not cut as hard as it normally would be. And so things like this Monarda bee balm would normally have been cut and cut and cut and cut, instead of which I've got this amazing crop. So, and I normally cut it for the foliage, and because the scent of the bruised stems is really delicious. But the bees are really loving it, and I think it's going to be great in this wedding. Still going strong, the beautiful Kufea just coming along. There's Rudbeckia, and then the white are, well, they used to be called Acidanthera, and then they were called Gladiolus murieli, and now they're called something else, and I can't remember what it is. But anyway, they're scented glads, and I grow them as annuals. I love them. More of the Atriplex. Lovely here. A bit of Nicotiana. I won't cut it because it's kind of over, but the scent at night for me walking down here is really fantastic. Lots of different glads. I'm a big fan of a gladioli. I think they're structural and they're interesting. I love the colours. They go really well with the dahlias. So we'll definitely have some of those for this wedding. And the sweet peas have pulled their netting down, naughty things. But while I won't have hundreds of them, I will have enough to put a few in the bride's bouquet and places like that. I love this light. Don't you love the light in the morning? And then we have some Ami Visnaga, which is this stronger headed Ami. Much more likely to be able to buy this from the wholesale flower market than Ami Majus, which is the lighter one I grow further earlier in the summer. Slightly later sown Nicotiana, I might cut some of these. Lovely Levatera tree mallow, I grow it as an annual. And then I've got Chinese forget-me-not in blue and pink, and Spellsval, some Statis for drying. But I thought I had grown pink only. Turns out I've grown blue, which is not so useful for winter. So I'm actually going to cut it now and use it in this wedding, because it's a really nice foil for all the bright coloured dahlias, which I'll be cutting in a minute. And this little person will wake up in a minute. This is an annual chrysanthemum. Again, the seeds from Higgledy Garden, and the petals will ping open as the day carries on, and they're really, really lovely. They're very nice cut. I'm a big fan of this. I don't grow masses of it, but a little bit goes a long way. And then we cut back the Sweet William quite hard earlier on, gave them a water and a feed. Oh yes, we did. And look, that's very successful. Not such tall stems, but they're lovely. And the scent is really delicious. And for posies, I think they're just the right thing. I cut early in the morning because the water from the night has grown all the way up the stems of the flowers by capillary action, and so they're turgid right up by their necks. If I wait as the day goes on and the sun comes higher, the water goes down the stems, which is why sometimes your garden looks a bit wilty in the middle of the day if it's hot weather. So that's why I cut early in the morning. Also, it's cool and everyone else is still asleep. And I really like it. I'm an early riser. You've got to work with what you've got, haven't you? And if you find that you've got material that's going over in, for example, a bunch of cosmos like this, there's one in the middle that's gone. I'm still cutting it because there's a whole handful of cosmos in there. And I'm just going to snip out the bit that's over. And I've got a lovely stem there. Waste not, want not. Of course, I completely forgot to film the dahlias before I cut them. Anyway, here are 150 for this lovely wedding. Look at those gorgeous colours. The front pom-poms, the dark ones, are new from Halls of Heaven, and I really like them. I can't remember what varieties they are, but look at Halls of Heaven and you'll see them. Whereas the peach pom-poms I've had for years, and they come back. They're incredibly hard workers. I love my dahlias. When the weather, that's tea cake, tea cake, tea cake. Anyway, when the weather's hot like this, I bring the buckets back into the studio more often because I don't want them outside in the heat. We don't have a cooler. We are southwest England, so we shouldn't need a cooler. But it is 70 degrees Fahrenheit in the studio now, and a good deal hotter than that outside. That in Celsius, I'll turn around and look while I leave you looking at the dahlias. That's 24 in the studio. Up here in the patch we call the ladies' smock, the roses are just beginning their second flush, so I'm glad to have an event to cut them for. They are a little early. It's only early August. Well, it's the 9th or something, 10th, 11th, I think, of August. So normally they wouldn't get going again until later in the month, but it's been so hot, I think that's why they're doing it. Up here we also have masses of sedum, lots of lovely bronze fennel, very good for buttonholes, sea holly, the veronicastrum. I've been away looking after Mum and I've missed it, but I'm going to cut it back hard and hopefully it'll come again. But I might have missed it. But look at the bees, they haven't missed it. It's humming, the bees. This froth of purple is limonium, loves hot weather, and also very popular with bees. But it's time to harvest this and I'll hang it up in the studio for Christmas. This lovely penstemon will react very well to being cut back hard and given a water and a feed, and then it'll flower again through the autumn for me. And here the physocarpus, you can see why I grow so much of it now that I've got the dahlias flowering, because it's such a good foil for those hot colours. Another foil for hot colours is this lovely variegated cornus, which I'll cut some of which I will cut some, she said, speaking English, in a minute. And the golden colour is Physocarpus darts gold, which is also really useful as the colours of the flowers heat up. Obviously not all the flower colour heats up. Here are my beloved, oh my God, I love them, Hydrangea paniculata limelight. We'll have some of those for this wedding. And these are ready for cutting. If I find something in the middle, you know, if there's a threesome and the middle one has gone over a little bit, I'll snip that out. I'm not going to waste them, but I'll make sure to leave some for the bees. Because I've been away looking after Mum so much, the echinacea hasn't been picked, but I can cut it for the cones, make very nice dried cones for autumn work. And in the meantime, again, I think the bees really, really like them. The apple mint, because of the weather, has got very mildewy. But look, the chocolate mint has not. And there are butterflies on it, enjoying the nectar as much as I'm going to enjoy some of these flowers. Here's Woollerton Old Hall, throwing stems as tall as I am. Thank you, Woollerton Old Hall. Right, enough of this chat. Best get on and get cutting. And here are those annual chrysanthemums later on the same day, and they've broken up. I love it when it's completely normal that a flower should go to bed and then wake itself up when the sun comes up like a normal person. Now, I wouldn't normally be cutting crab apples at this time of year, but the trees are so heavily weighted with fruit, they're dragging on the ground. So I'm going to cut those boughs and use them for this wedding because they're lovely, but also they're going to break the trees, otherwise waste not, want not. So here are 13 mixed buckets with opportunistic extras like crab apples, and my client's parents are going to fetch these buckets tomorrow afternoon. I've cut them this morning so they get a really good drink. It's going to be, for them and for me, extremely hot. So they have a lovely drink. They're going to be collected tomorrow afternoon. And tomorrow morning, I will cut pretty much the same again for the bride's bouquet, 6 or 7 bridesmaids. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. Lots of buttonholes and a couple of other orders I've got going out this week. So there you go. Not bad, given that I've been at mum's for weeks and the eye has been taken off the flower farming ball, so to speak. Anyway, yeah. And the second flush of roses. Aren't they nice with dahlias? Sometimes people want to know whether roses and dahlias go well together. I say yes. So, now that I've got everything on the table, I think it's worth just topping them all up. Luckily, the hose reaches from outside into the studio so that all the buckets can have a topped up right to the top. And I'll stick my hand in so I know that the water's gone all the way up. These plants, these flowers at this time of year, in this kind of weather, drink and drink and drink and drink. So look, this bucket was full when I set out of water, and I set out this morning, and I have filled it with hydrangeas and a structure, cloth of gold. And look, I'm standing here for this long and it's still not full up again, nearly now. And if inadvertently I'm sloshing a bit of water on the ground as I go round, that's no bad thing. As usual, my camera's falling down. Having a wetter floor will keep it cooler in here. Obviously, I would not do this if I had other people because there would be a health and safety issue. But since it's just me until 6 o'clock this evening when we have a garden tour, by which time this will have dried up, this will really help keep the room warm. I've got the doors at the end open and a little breeze is just pushing the air through as I get shorter and shorter. Anyway, there you go. Top tips. I'm always full of top tips, I think. And the reason my hair is wet is because I've been dunking it under the hose too to keep me cool. Right, it's the next morning and I've had a look and I realise I've already got 17 minutes or 18 minutes of film, so that's plenty for one clip. As you can see, the flowers have held up in the heat perfectly happily, and they're going to be collected today. With wedding flowers, there's always a certain amount of, I'll do this then and I'll do this then. It's never simply I cut the flowers and then they're ready for you this time. It's always a bit more complicated than that. So the bride collects these, the bride's parents are collecting these today. And then meanwhile, I go out now and cut her bouquet, the bridesmaids and the buttonholes and so on. And they'll be ready for collecting tomorrow, because today they're going to collect them and then they can arrange with them. And then so that everything is finally ready at the same time. So I'm off cutting again. I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of the garden in July. If you have, then please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon, and we'll tell you when we've got more clips coming up. And if you find any of the tips and tricks helpful as we go along, then please do buy me a coffee. The link for buying coffees is in all my blurbs. Thanks very much for coming along. And I'll see you very soon when I'm doing the bouquets. And then I've got a little project for tomorrow. So the problem with life at the moment is, because I'm sort of concertinaed between trips to look after mum, is I have gaps in my YouTube, and then I'm making 3 YouTubes in 2 days. But it'll be fun. I've got a lovely little project for tomorrow. Anyway, stay with me. There'll be plenty more to see. Bye.